Overnight in Toronto, one woman has died after being trapped in a clothing donation bin. Paramedics were called around 1:30 in the morning Eastern and tried to resuscitate her, but the woman was pronounced dead at the scene. The investigation ongoing. Here's what we know of this kind of death, though. At least 8 Canadians have died after getting stuck in this type of clothing donation bin since 2015. Advocates have called for the bins to be fixed or to be removed entirely. Stephanie Skendaris is on the story for us in Toronto. The details of this woman's death. Stephanie, do we have any further information?
Well, Heather, what we know so far is that emergency crews were called to this clothing donation bin at Dovercourt Road and Bloor Street at about 1:30 this morning. There were reports that a woman was stuck inside and people in the area could apparently hear her crying out for help. Now, we know that the crews found her partially inside and without vital signs. They did try to perform CPR, but she was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, police told CBC News that the circumstances here are not suspicious, that her death is likely accidental. Right now, Heather, we don't know any more about who this woman was or where she came from, not even her age. But we do know that, as you said, this is becoming a devastating pattern, and it hasn't just happened here in Toronto.
No, mentioning that there have been now 8 deaths like this one across the country since just 2015. And you understand why critics speak of these as horrible deaths and call those bins death traps. I mean, tell us more about what we're learning.
That's right. We have heard them called exactly that. And there have been, as you said, 7 other people since 2015. There was a man in Cambridge, Ontario. There was a man in Calgary. And notably, Heather, there have been 5 people just in the province of British Columbia. The last one just on New Year's Eve in West Vancouver. Now, that prompted the municipality of West Vancouver to temporarily close all of their clothing donation bins, both on public and private property. And many of the calls for that to happen came from advocates for the homeless. They say that homeless people often try to get inside these bins. They're seeking shelter, warmth, some clothing, some blankets. But the bins, the way that they're designed, it's to keep people out, to keep the clothing in and people out. So it's very easy to get stuck inside. The goal, though, for the country as a whole, what these advocates are calling for is not necessarily to have the bins banned completely. It's to have them redesigned, possibly even retrofitted. And there is a professor, an engineering professor at the University of British Columbia, who has taken up this challenge. He has assigned some of his students a project to try to figure out how to do this, how to redesign these bins to possibly make them safer. If they can succeed at that, it could put an end to this horrible pattern, these horrible deaths, Heather.
Stephanie, what an important story. Thank you very much. Stephanie Skendaris, who was in Toronto for us today.